After more than 2 decades, Illinois has a new Secretary of State. Alexi Giannoulias was sworn in earlier this month, taking charge after Jesse White retired. Secretary Giannoulias joins me this morning. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's great to see you.
Good to have you on. Well, first this morning, after a hard-fought campaign for Secretary of State, you came out on top. What have been your main focuses since taking office?
Again, thank you to the voters for electing me, but my campaign has always been about modernization. We view this office as a customer service office. So how do we make it easier for people to access government services? So modernization has been at the forefront in the first month and will continue to be at the forefront of everything we do. We want to eliminate the time tax that people take when they use Secretary of State services. Also, ethics has always been important to me. We have to build back trust in government. So my first day in office, I signed an executive ethics order. That was important to me. So you're going to continue to see a focus on new technology, modernization, ethics, transparency. As a state's chief librarian, we want to make sure we have the best library system in the United States of America. So these are just a few of my priorities.
You recently announced a settlement agreement with online car retailer Carvana. Can you break down what and who Carvana violated and what this settlement means for Illinoisans?
They were illegally issuing out-of-state registration permits. We were the first state in the country to realize what was happening. We were the first state in the country to go after them. The settlement was, a step forward for the people of Illinois. And as I've said constantly, no one is going to mess with Illinois consumers. And regardless of how you buy your vehicle, we will always stand up and fight for consumers. While the settlement is done, we are keeping an eye on them to make sure that they do the right thing going forward.
And you've recently announced your transition team, one name a lot of our viewers in Central Illinois are familiar with, and that's former State Rep Dan Brady, who was also your opponent in the 2022 general election. Talk about why you felt Brady was a good candidate for this role and why you chose him.
I think politics has become too disjointed. I think the temperature needs to calm down a little bit. And when I talk to people, they just want smart, dedicated people who are going to make their lives easier. I've always been bipartisan. I've always worked across the aisle my whole life. And so when the election was over and I put together my transition team, I thought, here's a guy who not only is a friend of mine, who happens to be a Republican. He served in the General Assembly. He's been running for this same office for 2 years. He's got some good ideas. So I asked him if he would serve on my transition team, and I did not expect the media attention that we'd get for just doing the right thing and putting party behind us. And I wish, quite frankly, this happened more across the country.
Well, something you and I talked about multiple times on the campaign trail was modernizing the office, making services easier and more accessible for Illinoisans. What are you doing right now to achieve this goal?
So we're looking at a number of things, and I'm proud of our administration for working so diligently on this. So we're going to look at digital driver's license, digital IDs, which are happening in other states. Our Skip the Line program, where people can call ahead, schedule a time, get a text back, so they can go in just like other customer service businesses. We're also looking at driving simulators so that we don't have to take people out of the DMVs to take individuals out for their driving tests. We're also looking and will achieve electronic car titles, electronic notary signature. So other states are doing this. I don't think anyone ever expects Illinois to be the first when it comes to new technology, but people are sick and tired of being the last, and this will make people's lives easier, more efficient. They'll have to spend less time in our facilities, and for those who don't want to change, they can still have their piece of plastic and go into the DMV whenever they want.
Well, lastly, you mentioned this before, but you are the state's chief librarian. What are some ways that you can modernize libraries, make them maybe more exciting and accessible to more Illinoisans?
So COVID has unfortunately left too many of our boys and girls behind when it comes to education, and libraries are a cornerstone of every single community. So we want to focus on more electronic offerings. We announced our License to Read program, where we're going to go negotiate the price of ebooks that publishers are charging libraries. So we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to give libraries the resources they can to educate our youth. And you'll see an aggressive push towards more resources, more online resources, more grants. And I also want to give a special shout out to all the librarians and library board members who work their tails off and are dealing with some big headwinds. Thank you for what you're doing. We are grateful for you. Our kids and our grandkids are grateful for all that you do.
All right, before I let you go, any other topics this morning?
No, again, people, in the state of Illinois should expect a lot of me and our administration. If you have ideas, go to revupillinois.com. Tell us your ideas. Tell us your complaints. Tell us what we can do better. You are my boss. The people of Illinois are my boss. So let me hear on how I can do my job better. And I can't wait to see you soon.
All right, Secretary of State Alexi Giannoulias, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Thanks for making the time for me.
Of course, and this whole interview will be on our website, that is ciproud.com.